This is fascinating. Let's listen to Nigel Farage put on the spot about his views about family and marriage.
The core of civilization as such, and the Western civilization that we're attempting to reinvigorate, let's say, is, first of all, a circle of tolerance, okay? So we'll make that the a priori axiom, but then a commitment to long-term, stable, married, monogamous, heterosexual, child-centered marriages. And so now that's a fairly restrictive ideal. You know, ideals are restrictive. And, you know, we're all cognizant of the fact that within our own families, for example, 40% of our siblings, let's say, are likely to be divorced, that there's no shortage of single mothers, that homosexuality and homosexual couples exist, and that there's going to be deviations from the norm. But I'm curious, again, like in your view, you could make the case that that stable, committed monogamy, heterosexual, child-centered monogamy, is the kind of long-term commitment to community, to sacrifice, and to future that's the fundamental unit of civilized society. And so I'm curious, Mike, what do you think about that?
So Jordan Peterson there has basically laid out the socially conservative position, the position of the Scottish Family Party, that the state should maximise, incentivise, encourage, celebrate heterosexual, committed marriage as the ideal context for bringing up children. Let's hear Nigel Farage's response.
Well, I may not necessarily be the best advocate for monogamous heterosexuality or stable marriage, having been divorced twice.
I think Jordan Peterson's response there was right, just saying yes, and in other words, thank you for your honesty, not attacking him. But I agree with Jordan Peterson. In other words, Nigel Farage's past, I'm not really particularly interested in it. What I'm interested in is, what does he believe now? If various things have happened in his past, what's his view on them? What's his attitude? What are his values going forward? Now, he says there that he's not a good example of monogamy. Is that some sort of admission of infidelity? I don't quite know. But what certainly doesn't seem to be coming through there was anything in the way of regret. Like, this is what I've done in the past, but I don't think that was right. This is the way I think people ought to behave. There was certainly nothing like that coming through there. Does he uphold the principles of faithful monogamous marriage, commitment, faithfulness, heterosexual marriage as the context for sexual relations, best context for bringing up children? Does he uphold these things? Well, if you look at what he says and what his lifestyle now, I think the answer is no. I think he lives with a partner that he's not married with, as far as I'm aware. So his past, I'm not really interested in. Does he uphold these principles now? Well, the answer is no, he doesn't. And he doesn't even give the impression that he understands the question, that he understands the issue that Jordan Peterson is getting at. So what does he say instead?
But do I think family matters? Jordan, on the 3rd of June last year, as I was coming into London by car to go back into politics, having left it a few years before, my ambition was to get the United Kingdom to be a self-governing, independent nation. And for many, many years, I was pretty much on my own fighting that battle. The day we left the European Union, I thought, right, I've done my job. And that day on the 3rd of June, when I was coming back, thinking, well, this really rather comfortable, lovely life I've got is about to disappear, I thought, why am I doing it? And I came up with 3 words: family, community, and country. They're the things that matter to me above absolutely everything.
Saying that family matters, I mean, tell me a politician that doesn't say that. All politicians speak positively about families because they want their votes, among other reasons. So, yeah, everyone says that. But then Nigel Farage says family, community, nation, they're the things that really drove him. As he drove in that car, that was what was foremost in his mind. To be honest, I find that a little bit difficult to believe. If you listen to what Nigel Farage has got to say, generally, if you just put a microphone under his nose and said, tell me about what you're thinking about today, tell me about what's important to you, do you think you'd hear him talking about family? I don't think so. You'd be getting immigration, European Union, net zero, etc., etc. So Nigel Farage's story there, I'm not entirely convinced, I have to say.
And I have tried, in difficult circumstances, I've tried to make sure with both ex-wives that our children have had as stable an upbringing given the circumstances, as they can possibly have.
So again, I would say, that's fine, but what's gone on in Nigel Farage's past isn't so important. What's important are his values now. And he's really shown a complete unwillingness to endorse traditional Judeo-Christian values in this area. Again, it's not even clear that he understands what they are. So what's he got to say next?
We've kind of forgotten that what underpins everything is our Judeo-Christian culture. And that's where we need to start. That's where we need to start. And if we recognise that, and if we value that, then I think everything comes from that.
Now, I just see that as tactical. He knows that you're going to get a clap at ARC by mentioning Judeo-Christian values. He knows a lot of Christians will go weak at the knees and just think it's so wonderful to have someone saying Judeo-Christian values. I'd love to ask Nigel Farage about these Judeo-Christian values. Sex within the context of marriage only? Is that one of the Judeo-Christian values that he believes in currently? I mean, swearing, drunkenness, the value of every human life. That's a pretty core one, isn't it? What's Nigel Farage's belief on those? Total honesty and integrity. Now, I heard Nigel Farage speaking a few months ago. I wish I could find the recording. I can't find it anywhere. But he was saying basically, we need to get back to the 10 Commandments. We need the 10 Commandments at the heart of our society. And then he said, but I've broken a few in my time. Smirk, smirk. But I just think with that, you can't have it both ways. You can't say the 10 Commandments are vital, fundamental moral principles upon which our society can be built, but then say, oh, I ignore quite a few myself. That's quite a laugh, isn't it? It just doesn't remotely make sense.
So yes, of course, family matters enormously. Of course, we need higher birth rates, but we're not going to get higher birth rates in this country until we can get some sense of optimism. We need a change of attitude in Britain. And if we get that right, people will have more kids. Okay, there's some truth in that. A sense of optimism probably would increase the fertility rate. But if you look at someone like Elon Musk is someone who will say, this is a crisis we're facing. We need more babies in our society. But Elon Musk's approach to that is, well, okay, I'm going to impregnate as many women as I can. It doesn't particularly matter who they are or whether we're married or whatever. It's just about producing more children. And that's a really fundamental difference between, for example, Elon Musk's position and the Family's Party position. So we're both interested in increasing the number of babies being born, but there's a lot more to it as far as we are concerned. Which side of the spectrum is Nigel Farage on? Well, the indications are is a bit more towards the free and easy end of the spectrum. Let's put it that way. So what we've got here is Nigel Farage trying to play the part of a pro-family, pro-marriage, socially conservative politician before an audience that he thinks probably wants to hear that, but he really can't do it very well because he doesn't really believe it himself and he doesn't even seem to understand the principles that he's trying to address. Okay, thanks for watching.